Langkah pertama adalah hal tersulit yang semua orang harus hadapi, termasuk aku. Gak mau nyusahin orang, selalu minta bantuan. Jadi, aku lebih sering menyendiri. Ngabisin waktu ngutak-ngatik komputer sendiri. Ternyata tanpa sadar bisa membuahkan hasil. Pelan-pelan aku bangun rasa semangatku. Aku memutuskan untuk bangkit dan belajar banyak hal baru. Semakin hari pengetahuanku semakin bertambah. 900 jam belajar machine learning hingga bahasa Inggris. Buat Adi yang dulunya berkecil hati, sekarang jadi lebih berani. Tanpa aku sadarin, ternyata aku udah ngambil langkah demi langkah, maju ke depan. Sekarang aku berkarir sebagai AI engineer. Sekarang aku bisa ikut bantu berkontribusi untuk industri kesehatan bangsa. Bantu permudah distribusi dengan bantuan teknologi AI. Bekal pengetahuan yang aku pelajari di Bangkit. Kadang situasi bisa mengkondisikan pola pikiran, tapi aku bisa memilih untuk bangkit. Ambil berapapun langkah maju yang aku mau.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bangkit Academy's 7th guest speaker session of the year. My name is Nabil Mafaza, Bangkit Academy's Cloud Computing graduate of 2023, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon's event. Before we start, I want to check on the crowd here on the live chat. How are you guys doing? Are you excited for this session? As this session is the 7th and we'll discuss about AI. Can I see you guys in the chat? How are you guys doing? Yes, I like your enthusiasm. Let's keep it up until the end of the session. All right. Now, as with all guest speaker sessions before this, we will open a Q&A session right after the guest speaker's presentation. And as usual, the top 6 answers will get Bangkit points. Because of that, we really encourage you guys to be active and to ask as many questions as possible. So if you could, you write every 1 second or every 5 seconds. We truly encourage that. Now, for today's guest speaker session, we will discuss about AI for startups, building the future of business with artificial intelligence. We will mainly talk about the business AI connection, the step-by-steps of starting an AI business, and the challenges and opportunities for AI startups. Guiding us through this all is someone who isn't just an expert in AI, but an experienced entrepreneur with a track record of turning ideas into successful businesses since he was a little child. He is the CEO and co-founder of Kata.ai, a company that's harnessing the power of artificial intelligence to empower businesses to thrive in today's dynamic landscape. And without any further ado, please give a warm welcome to Mas Irzan Raditya. Mas Irzan, how are you doing today?
Hi, Nabil. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
doing I'm doing fine too. Thank you. Hi, Mas Irzan. Uh, as we all know, Kata.ai has many amazing products. And can you tell us a little bit about a project or maybe something new that you are currently working on?
Sure. So, as you mentioned before, that Kata.ai is the pioneer of conversational artificial intelligence platform in Indonesia. So essentially, we help businesses to improve their customer engagement with the power of AI chatbots, typically for customer service, conversational marketing, conversational commerce, you name it. We're glad that we've seen the phase after 7 years of running. Typically, our use cases related around customer service for cost saving. Now we've seen the growing demand of businesses to implement AI-powered chatbots, especially utilizing large language models or generative AI here to create a new avenue of growth, providing a way for businesses to connect with their consumers to create a seamless transactions.
Okay, that's really awesome. And I'm sure you guys here on the chat will want to learn more about what is Kata.ai and how Mas Irzan creates this company from the beginning. And as I'm sure many of you are excited to learn how to be a proper, let's say, proper entrepreneur and how to maintain this company. And without any further ado, Mas Irzan, the stage is yours. And yes.
Thank you, Nabil. Hi, everyone. Once again, thank you for coming to the session. I'm glad to be here. So I think before I share my presentation, allow me to introduce more about myself. So just like all of you folks here, I have this background in computer science. So I graduated in HTW Berlin back in 2012 in computer science. And then I worked at several companies. One of them was Rocket Internet. I started off my career as a software engineer. So yes, I did coding for 3 to 4 years before I realized that I'm not that good comparing to my peers out there. And then the next year, I moved to product management. So my last career before moving back to Indonesia in 2015, I used to spend 2 years as the head of mobile product of takeaway.com, the online food delivery service in Europe. So, but these days, I didn't code anymore. I don't code anymore, basically. I'm just more a salesman. But I'm very passionate and enthusiastic looking at how the AI landscape has been growing ever since, especially through the introduction of ChatGPT last year. It creates a new whole landscape and mass education introduction on how AI could benefit our daily lives and also businesses as well. So allow me to share my presentation to you here, how we can leverage the opportunity of artificial intelligence, especially for you guys here. If one day you have an aspiration to shift your career from a software engineer to become an entrepreneur, to start your own startup in the AI space. Let me share my slides. All right, so I believe you can see my slide here. Right, so let me give a slight introduction about Kata.ai. So we've been doing artificial intelligence since before it's cool like today. So we've been doing AI since 7 years ago. Before there's this hype from large language models or LLM, we have been building our own proprietary algorithm, especially in NLU, natural language understanding for Bahasa Indonesia. So we did what we call as cold turkey start, friends. Back then in 2015, when I started off YesPlus, we had the vision that the future is AI and automation. But in order to make the personal butler service via SMS to be scalable, we would need this algorithm called natural language understanding for Indonesian language. So we look around actually from the big techs out there, from IBM, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Google. None of them back in 2015 had this algorithm that could understand the comprehensive Indonesian language. So as an entrepreneur, there's no other way than we had this strong drive and vision to build it on our own. So with YesBoss, we managed to collect 3 million messages from our customers or clients, and we utilize those messages to build the first foundation of NLU for Bahasa Indonesia, which later on in 2017, we made a pivot. We changed our direction from B2C to become B2B, from YesBoss to Kata.ai, because we believe that with the power of AI helping machine to understand humans' natural language, especially Bahasa Indonesia, we see a lot of potential opportunities in order to improve their customer engagement, improve customer satisfaction and experience as well. That will lead to improvement of their bottom line or profitability. So today, Kata.ai has been trusted by over 200 organizations out there, including big enterprises, government institutions, SMBs, and we have processed over 2.5 billion conversations through our AI chatbots. With the result, of course, it has to be something tangible for businesses. We manage those businesses to reduce their operational costs by 70% and improve their conversion rate, be it for lead generation or even transaction for 200%. So these are the example of our key clients across sectors: and telecommunications, banking, financial service, insurance, consumer goods, retail, healthcare, government, and many more. So for us, it's very important that AI is just not merely technology that is cutting edge or cool to implement or just some innovation, but it has to deliver what we call as ROI, return on investment. Because when you sell to businesses, be it big or small, you have to be able to quantify the result, the success for them to implement your solution. Like for example, with Unilever, our very first customer, they wanted to build the first virtual female best friend. So it's called Gemma, utilizing our NLU, and somebody even talked to her for straight 4 hours. And not only that, Gemma is tasked actually to understand more about the consumers of Unilever by having a chit chat and collecting multiple data points. So out of those 2 million users who were interacted with Gemma, 800,000 of them, they provide their information, like name, phone number, address, date of birth, and phone and others. Of course, in a non-intrusive way that is in a fun and also friendly way. Also, in retail, we drive Alfamart here to utilize AI-powered chatbot to drive engagement from their online audience base to shop in the nearest retailer store of Alfamart from the users. So resulting, we drive 6,000% of ROI. So every dollar invested in a project, they get it in return by 60 times. And also with Pegadaian. So Pegadaian is one of the leading national store and enterprise, BUMN. In this case, on multi-finance or financial service, since 2022, yeah, Pegadaian introduced the way for their customers to buy digital goods, pay the installments, and then make any other transactions, resulting annually in $5 million US of transactions by using AI-powered chatbot on WhatsApp. So we see, folks, that now utilizing AI, there's a way for businesses to drive this, to drive their growth, to drive their revenue, or even improve their bottom line. So that was about Kata.ai. Now I'd like to deep dive on how we can win in generative AI. But before we get into that, I have some quick background. So I think all of you guys here are quite aware with all the logos here, and we've gone through several technology transformation since the past 60 years. Started off with semiconductors, and we've seen like players like Intel has been the backbone of all the semiconductors, the chips out there that we use in our devices. And then in 1970s, it was the age where PCs, like personal computers, being introduced to the mass market. Previously, it was only IBM who utilized computers for businesses, but thanks to Microsoft and Apple, like we're using the MacBook today, being introduced by them as a way for us to utilize this computer every day. And then come the age of networks. We've seen players like Compaq, Dell, Cisco, Adobe, ranging from multiple ways to connect the technology infrastructure, the network infrastructure, including some applications that being used in the operating system. Then in 90s, there was this internet boom. There was this dot-com bubble. I believe back at the time, you guys were not born yet, but I've seen firsthand that it became a phenomenon where the internet economy it gave a birth to multiple tech giants today, like Amazon, Google, Salesforce, and even some of them also have died down, like Yahoo, for example. And in 2000s, it was the introduction of like web apps. I think we've seen the rise of like Amazon with AWS, and then Facebook, which now has expanded into like multiple applications, and then PayPal and YouTube got acquired by Google, and many more. And in 2010s, I think it was introduced back in 2007. So the catalyst was the introduction of iPhone by Steve Jobs. So it changed the whole landscape on how we use computing. So before we use everything desktop or we use laptop, now everything is accessible using mobile app, right? And we've seen like, as a local hero, we've seen like Gojek, for example, Tokopedia, and those are thriving from this mobile economy. Or for example, the apps we're using every day, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Yeah, it creates a lot of new jobs, and it's become the new catalyst of digital economy growth. And since the 2 or 3 years ago, we've seen the rise of AI. Well, AI itself is not something new. So it has been, there's a lot of like development since 1950s, but the consumerization of AI just took place, I'd say like 2 to 3 years ago, with the introduction of ChatGPT by OpenAI. And again, it changed the whole landscape. So that's where we are today. So we've seen that generative AI has touched us not only as a technology, not only as a cutting edge on groundbreaking technology, but also how it touches our daily lives or culture as well. Like in 2022, somebody utilized Midjourney back then before it's so well known like today to win an art competition. And then through the introduction of GPT 3.5, the AI-powered chatbot could already pass the US lawyer bar exam, or even pass a lot of national Ivy League entry tests, so to speak. And then, yeah, also we have seen that generative AI has been playing a crucial role in programming and software engineering. I think you guys are also aware of the introduction of Devin by Cognito. the company introduced the AI-powered software engineer, and I believe the future of software engineering is hand in hand in combination between us as the one who take the steering wheel and also the machine here. And one groundbreaking thing that they introduced just I think a few like weeks or month ago is OpenAI Sora, how we can utilize text to create a video in a hyper realistic manner. And I think it's just amazing. I personally couldn't wait to get my hands on Sora and playing around with it. All right. So what's in it for us? So the opportunity of AI in Indonesia itself, it has this huge GDP contribution by 2030, contributing to 366 billion US dollar. That's a huge amount of money. And it's not me who's saying this, but EDBI, Singapore Investment Board, and Kearney, a well-known consulting firm. Focusing on three key sectors: financial services, retail, and supply chain logistics, because these are the three key sectors that will drive a lot of growth in our nation's economy. A lot of like unique data sets and proprietary data sets we can leverage, which is not easily accessible in the open internet. But more on it later. We'll get to that. So I'll start the presentation by looking at three things. Who's going to win in this generative AI economy? First, we'll see from the perspective of consumers and workers. So all of us in the room today. Second, from the incumbents or big technology company like Microsoft, Google, Meta, Salesforce, and others, Amazon, or anyone with the distributions. And last but not least is how we, as the aspiring entrepreneurs, future innovators, or startups, to capture these open opportunities. I'll start with the consumers and workers. So the late Steve Jobs, he had this one of his famous quotes. What computer is to me is it's the most remarkable tool that we have ever come up with. It's the equivalent of a bicycle for our minds. Because imagine, we as human beings, we have this creativity and accessing this magnificent tool, applications connected to the internet, it opens up a lot of horizons and opportunity. And look how many jobs being created by simply utilizing the computer itself and internet. Millions of jobs, or billions of jobs, and billions of economy. And what about the age of AI? So I believe AI is beyond the bicycle for the mind. AI is the minds for the mind. Because imagine now we have access to knowledge all across the globe, knowledge all over the internet, any kind of language, any kind of disciplinary, any kind of key sectors. We can simply ask AI today to explain to us about certain key topics, be it in healthcare, education, financial services, economy, and many more. And it opens up a lot of opportunities now that it levels up the playing field, because now AI is that accessible, and how we can leverage this, having like extended minds. There's this famous, I think, event back in 1997. So back then, IBM introduced their AI. It's not the generative AI that we have today. It's called Deep Blue. So Deep Blue is the IBM computer mainframe utilizing AI to beat the champion of chess back then, Garry Kasparov. So Garry Kasparov, in one of his interview, he mentioned that he's the first human being that being beaten by AI. So the story that how AI could act, think, or comprehend just like human being, it goes way back in 1997. Of course, now it's beyond playing chess or playing Go, but also creating illustrations, just like what I made in this last slide, for example, creating video, song, and many more, or even codes. So there is this interesting research by McKinsey, folks, that generative AI itself, it possesses a lot of opportunities and use cases in the professional industry or in the work sector. However, the biggest key functions are revolving around four key sectors, which are sales and marketing, So, for example, like utilizing AI here to illustrate some copywriting, definitely for social media posts, for example, for advertisement, generating some storyboards for some ads, or some videos, for example, or some illustrations, right? Including how we can utilize this generative AI to craft strategy by capturing internal data information, for example, like Excel data or market trends. And then other opportunities in software engineering, of course, we discussed before. Customer operations, this is where chatbot come into play, elevating the customer experience. And then there is this product and R&D, especially in the consumer goods and pharmaceutical, for example. So these are the 4 key sectors. So how does it translate to the potential economic impact when it comes to generative AI? First, based on McKinsey research, that the total value delivered by generative AI from 63 generative AI use cases spanning 16 business functions, it peaked at $4 trillion US dollar. That's a lot. It's not simply like replacing the jobs or replacing the tasks, but how these jobs and tasks being affected by generative AI and how generative AI could leverage that opportunity. That means 850 occupations impacted by generative AI. And if we go into one layer down, it means 2,100 work activities or tasks potentially impacted by generative AI. So every single thing we do in front of the computer, believe me, folks, it will be impacted by generative AI. So if we can't use this opportunity, we'll be left behind, right? And I believe in the future, when you apply for jobs in future companies, you won't be highlighting software such as Microsoft Office as your skill sets, but you'll be asked how sophisticated are you in utilizing AI-powered software? Maybe ChatGPT, maybe Google Gemini, or maybe other tools. Now, the second, I'm going to go deeper to the incumbents or the big technology companies. So if we take a look, folks, the players like Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, they have this huge advantage. I'll say, of course, one, they have resources. Resources mean funding, no questions asked, and also talents. But beyond that, they are very strong when it comes to data, because again, AI play is all about data play. No data means no AI. And that's why we've heard before, like, data is the new oil. So not only data, the last but not least, which is very important, is distribution. How their technology has been distributed to hundreds of millions of people, if not billions. And these hundreds of millions of users or businesses or consumers can simply utilize the latest AI tool, AI feature to elevate the customer experience. The question is, what is our opportunity as a new tech startup? Yeah, new kid in town. So, as I mentioned before, like the incumbents have 2 key advantages, like data and distribution. Take a look at Microsoft. So Microsoft, they rolled out this AI feature that can summarize the conversation from the conference call, and also creating the notes, the transcript, and action items instantly to 320 million of their users. They have the path of distribution already. They have the data. They just slap on top of it an AI feature. Voila. And for example, Meta. So maybe you've seen this meme of Mark Zuckerberg with his bird. So last week I was in Singapore, and Singapore was one of the countries who get this early feature, what they call as Meta AI. I don't think we in Indonesia could find this feature already, but Meta AI is essentially the AI assistant. Just think of like Siri or even Google Assistant on Meta applications in Facebook Messenger, in WhatsApp, also Instagram. And I think that's just brilliant. Because as we know that Google is very strong when it comes to organizing information, the web and internet, but Meta, with all the Instagram reels they have stored in their networks, all Instagram posts, combining them with the internet search result coming from Google or Bing, they can combine it to become a very comprehensive search engine. And not only that, I tried with my friend who's based in Singapore. So in our chat room, just the two of us, he can call anytime at Meta AI and ask anything. So this super AI feature is distributed instantly to 3.6 billion of users from Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. That's just massive. Again, data and distribution, right? But don't lose the hope first, guys. Don't lose your hope, because I believe there's still a lot of room for opportunities. We'll get to that. So the question is, if we are a tech startup, how are we going to leverage AI? There are two lenses to look at it. Is it a disruptive innovation or sustaining innovation? So let me start with sustaining innovation. What does it mean? Sustaining innovation means how we utilize technology to improve, accelerate, or refine markets that already exist. Okay, so imagine like we're watching Netflix. Okay, as a streaming service company, Netflix could elevate our customer experience by providing relevant shows, relevant series that's suitable to our tastes, that's suitable to our interests, right? That way, they utilize machine learning recommendation engine to give recommendation to us. Same thing with e-commerce, for example, and I have another example. But essentially, like AI itself is not the key disruptive engine, but it's sustaining innovation so it can shape the product better, creating a better customer experience, or for example, creating a new revenue stream. And second, here the disruptive innovation. So we can see that disruptive innovation might take longer to develop, might take longer to deploy, but once it's there, it will pass over, it will, I think, create a groundbreaking innovation itself. From the previous economy, in this case, the mobile economy, we've seen that the likes of Uber, Gojek, they're disruptive innovation in a way. I think I'll deep dive on that one later. And disruptive innovation meaning it changes the way we do things previously in a 100 times better experience. So those are the key mindset and key differentiators. So the case study here, for example, Meta, they leverage AI as sustaining innovation. So a few years back, Apple is getting more strict when it comes to users' data privacy. So if you guys are aware, if we open some iOS apps, we'll be asked whether we allow the app we're using to track our behavior, our activity across apps and websites by the companies that being used when it comes to this data for personalized ads. And this is actually the lifeline of Meta as a quote-unquote advertising company, right? The data of the user behavior across multiple apps on iOS, it's very key for them. So they get disrupted in a way by Apple. So Tim Cook disrupted Facebook some years ago. But the good thing, Meta, they realized in the future that it might be a threat for them because they are essentially like borrowing our other people's platform, in this case, iOS for Apple, and then Android for Google, right? Or even other devices. So they have this initiative called FAIR, Facebook AI Research, in which they have done some research on how they can utilize machine learning to shape the ads targeting better. So they are not being truly dependent on Apple in that case. And finally, even though they receive a hit, they get a hit because of this strict data privacy coming from Apple, they manage to turn things around by utilizing their own machine learning algorithm. Now, I think this is the fun part, how we can see the opportunities for tech startups in generative AI economy. All right. before we get there, I think we have to understand the 5 layer of generative AI tech stacks. By understanding this 5 layers, we'll get a better idea on where the playing field is, where our opportunity to thrive or even to innovate. All right. So first, we come down to the general AI models. The general AI models is essentially the foundational models. Of course, the likes of ChatGPT, and then like GPT 3.5, GPT 4, or even Google's Gemini, or some other players. For example, like Cloud by Anthropic, and then there's Mistral, there's Llama by Meta, and many more. That's the general AI models. And on top of that, there's specific AI models. By utilizing general AI models, we train and fine-tune this model with our own data sets to be specific in certain industry. For example, I have a bunch of data sets regarding financial service. This is something that um, one of the bank in the US, I think JP Morgan, they built their own LLM by utilizing some open source out there with the unstructured data sets they have related to finance and accounting. So it becomes a specific AI models. And on top of that, there's hyperlocal AI models, because there's a way now by utilizing the open source AI models, again, just like Mistral, Meta's Llama, Google's Gemma, and others, we can install this model in our own server, be it in private cloud or even in the bare metal server on premise or on device, and train it with local data. These local data sets, it could be something related to certain vertical industry, or for example, like based on just our business performance. In this case, imagine if, for example, Gojek. Gojek has a bunch of data coming to their platform, right? Be it for transactions, across products, for rides, for payments, etc. They can utilize this data to build their own AI model, hyperlocal, that these data are not accessible by any other players, right? OpenAI couldn't get access to Gojek's consumer data or behavior data. And that's also one of the opportunity. And then come to the operating system and API layers. On top of those models, you can build an OS, like a semi-UX layer and APIs that can be accessible to our businesses or developers. Then, on top of that, the application layer, which I believe the applications layer is our strongest opportunity, where we can innovate, where we can answer lots of problems that has never been solved before, because the non-existent, the non-accessibility of generative AI algorithm. So here's a sneak peek, folks, how you can see that when it comes to digital economy, there are multiple of types of applications, tools for developers like APIs, data platforms, security layer, infra layer, even the devices, whether for cloud like web apps or even just simply mobile. As you can see that when it comes to AI apps, it's just still a few of them. Of course, there's like Midjourney, for example, Stability AI, and many more. But imagine, we're just starting off, and these are the opportunity. ChatGPT might be one thing, but there's still a lot of room for improvements. There's still a lot of room for innovate. So what are the 5 paths here for disruptive AI startups? Okay, these are the key materials for this discussion this afternoon. The first one is how we can leverage AI to exploit base model conflicts. Let me tell you something, folks here. For example, we are users, of course. We utilize Google to look for information. We search for something, and then typically we are presented with the top results, and that's what we call as SEM, search engine marketing, and that's how Google makes money, majority, through ad clicks. And then we get information, right? So in order for us to get the information, we might click some ads in which Google makes money. But now let us imagine this way. Imagine, I believe there are a lot of people who are utilizing ChatGPT not only for crafting emails, for example, social media caption, brainstorming, but also they utilize ChatGPT for looking for information. Of course, sometimes the reliability, the hallucination, the accuracy might be questionable, but at least for some key information, we can utilize ChatGPT. They even have this, what we call as the web search integration with Bing, right? And by utilizing ChatGPT, meaning that Google indirectly being disrupted. By being disrupted, meaning it kind of like being threatened on their ad clicks or revenue stream. Because when we utilize ChatGPT to look for information, we don't use Google, then there's no way. I mean, like there's no need for us to click Google's ads. Otherwise, ChatGPT might be one day introducing their ad service. Who knows? But for now, this is the case that we see today. Right. And then this is my favorite actually, how we can find vertical AI opportunity with no existing players. So folks here, we might see that there are a lot of apps already in the market, be it for e-commerce, ride-hailing, entertainment, tools for ABC, and many more. But there are a lot of like businesses, key sectors that are still, I would say, traditional. In that sense, there are two ways on how we solve things before in these key sectors, before the age of AI. Like for example, in legal, what are the key software in legal? It's always Microsoft Word or pen and paper. And let alone in construction, for example, in manufacturing, in government, for example, the software or existing players is almost zero or non-existent. But these are the example of other startups out there, mostly coming from the States, that leverage generative AI, that they believe it opens up a new opportunity for them to innovate, to give 100 times better user experience rather than using Google Docs or Microsoft Word, or for example, like Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. So these are one of the opportunities. Feel free to take a look and to browse more about these startups. The third one is it's about the mindset. The mindset when it comes to the product development itself. In the early days of this digital economy, we have this mindset of 10x better. But no. In generative AI, the push is getting harder. The demand is getting harder. They demand 100 times better, nothing less. Back then, we might think simplicity rules, yes, but what about automated? Faster is good, but what about instantaneous? Everything instant because of these AI agents, for example. Back then, the workflows help us to do things with efficient process. But now with AI and LLMs, invisible process. We can create some AI agents like multiple LLMs to talk to another, like one software engineer, one QA, one designer, and they talk to another, and they can do brainstorming and invisible process. Then again, as a result, it's not about 10 times better. It's about 100 times better. It's easier said than done, of course, but that's a challenge, which I believe you guys are the future innovators. You can find a way to solve this. And then the fourth one, how we can target unstructured proprietary data sets. Okay. AI, because of this automation and synthetic data creation, it increased the quantity of data by 100 times. Because now imagine that everybody can craft text generated by AI. Everybody can craft images, illustrations, utilizing Midjourney, ChatGPT, DALL-E, and many more, or video, or for example, like video games. And there are opportunities when it comes to unstructured data, not only text, but also like images, videos, and some other things that we can explore, which might present like a new opportunity. For example, I came across this very interesting AI application called Suno. Suno is a text to song generator. Not only the music, but they can get the lyric and the whole song itself. That's an opportunity, right? Maybe you guys can create something like by humming, and then as an input, the output could be like a song altogether. Who knows? And then not only that, how we can leverage hyperlocal data sets. So data, imagine that might be only accessible offline in the pen and paper form, data that is not accessible in the open internet, such as in healthcare, data coming from the clinics, from the hospitals, educations, coming from the schools, the universities, in agriculture, supply chain, and many more. And that's exactly our opportunity as Indonesian startup to thrive, utilizing generative AI, create an application layer, and focusing on the proprietary data sets like hyperlocal data to solve hyperlocal problems. And then come to the fifth one, which is the last piece, seek breakthrough user experience. Of course, with the introduction of ChatGPT, I've seen that lots of applications out there introducing their AI system in the form of chatbots. Chat is nice, of course, it's natural, and some of them embed the capability for speech recognition and voice command, which is great. Even with ChatGPT app, we can utilize our voice command. But the future, imagine like mind reading or brainwave. I think this become the future, I'd say, vehicle for us to interact with machine. We've seen that Apple introduced Vision Pro, and then they have AirPods as well. That's exactly their catalyst to do this brainwave reading for human and machine interaction. Or for example, Meta announcing this Ray-Ban Wayfair Rabbit Meta is also one of the way I think in the future they might leverage this for mind reading or mind command in a way. But this might be like too futuristic, but let's see what present today. Seeking breakthrough UX is not simply building like the layout of applications. It's not simply building like, oh, which button we have to put, which color, etc. But imagine the whole experience. On the left side, of course, this was the experience, I would say 10 years ago before Gojek built their app. In order to beat the traffic, either we find, hail a taxi or we need to find ojek, but the experience is cumbersome. We have to go out, find the pangkalan ojek, negotiate with the abang ojek, right? And sometimes they give pricey, offer, and we have to negotiate. It's very cumbersome, and we lack the security as well. But now with the whole experience of Gojek here, you can get instant Gojek driver come to your doorstep, taking you to the university, to the workplace, and then see the price beforehand, which pre-agreed by the driver. You can rate the driver. It's just amazing as a UX. This one example. Another example, like, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but YouTube, Netflix, the way we want to get this entertainment other than going to the theater, we go to the VCD or DVD rental. Either we buy the pirated CD or DVD, or we rent them. And the experience also not that fun, because we have to go out, we have to park our car, our motorbike, and then we look for the DVDs, VCD. We have to try first the CD whether it played the right movie, for example, or there's no scratch on the CD. And we go home, we play the CD, blah blah, like, and how many CDs we have to store in our home, right? But now, thanks to Netflix, and then there's Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, HBO Go, entertainment is as simple as on our fingertips in one library and easily accessible. Again, it's a breakthrough UX, right? You don't have to go out, just open your, let's say, laptop, tablet, TV, smart TV, and access these applications. Or for example, Google here. So Google, when they introduced a search engine, they are not the first. There were other search engines. Of course, there's Yahoo, and Yahoo, if you take a look at the layout, it's very cumbersome and I'd say like disorganized. Too many informations, very cluttered, and Google made a breakthrough, like just a search engine, no need for any other information. Keep it simple, right? It seems simple, but that's a breakthrough UX. It takes a lot of thinking and consideration to have that ballsy move, so to speak. There were the likes of Alta Vista, Netscape before Yahoo, but none of them survive today, which I think predominantly being taken over by Google. Now come to the native AI applications. Any of you have been using Kata.ai or ever heard about Kata.ai? So, of course, the number one Gen AI web products by monthly visit is ChatGPT. No questions asked, no brainer. But the second one is not even Google Gemini, not Microsoft Copilot, it's not Midjourney, it's Kata.ai. So I don't know about the Gen Z or Gen Alpha in Indonesia, but what I know in the States, Kata.ai is very famous across the youth, high schoolers, university students, where they can build their own AI friend, AI assistant for many kind of use cases, creating an AI avatar for some anime characters, for example, from One Piece, from Jujutsu Kaisen and others, and talk to them. Even you can build an AI Elon Musk. So it might be something like we haven't ever thought before. Even the likes of Google, Meta, they haven't really focused on this area. Why? Because for big companies out there like Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they are looking for ways utilizing AI to generate profit, right? However, with character AI, the profit is, I think, still not there yet. But there's a market need. There's a dire need. And look numbers. Look at the numbers. Almost 400 million monthly visits. And not only that, they're being valued at 1 billion US dollar with 150 million funding, US dollar funding. So this is the opportunity, folks. Do you want to build your AI girlfriend, maybe? And when it comes to UX, I'm not only talking about the chat interface, the voice interface, but the whole experience. Maybe some of you have been using Perplexity or have used Perplexity. It's kind of like AI native search engine. And yes, they are chat-based, but the way they present information, utilizing multiple information like images, videos, sources, is just very thoughtful and very easy to use. Hence, the UX, by not only utilizing the AI itself, but as a whole product experience is very, very important. So I believe now you can get the idea like how you can build the UX layer to make AI becoming more user-friendly and accessible to many. All right, okay, let me carry on here. So this is the last slide, by the way, and well, the last two slides. For us to think thoroughly on how we can innovate, there is this term of critical mass inflection point. What does it mean? So it means that in order to deliver the right innovation, we have to come at the right time. Too early is not good. Too late is even worse. So the inflection point formula is T times E times C. What is T? What is E? What is E? The first T is enabling technologies, where the technology infrastructure is ready. So imagine in the 90s, I believe you guys haven't heard before, there was this e-commerce called plaza.com. And there's this e-commerce called Lipo Shop, owned by the big corporations, of course, but nobody's using that. The reason why internet was not easily accessible back then, and computers, not so many have access to computers because of expensive in Indonesia. But look where Tokopedia started and other companies started in e-commerce. They come at the right time where devices, internet are already easily accessible. Second is economic impetus, meaning that the enabling technologies have to be accessible and affordable. Why Gojek could thrive in the Indonesian market? Because they come at the right time where smartphone becoming more affordable for all across layers of, I would say, social economic class. Because the mobile device are easily accessible not only for the consumers but also the drivers. And of course, they made some, let's say, financing model as well for drivers. But there's economic layer that is very, very key, and people are willing to spend money on internet. That's also important. The last but the least is cultural buy-in. So cultural buy-in means like today, like we talk to AI every day. We utilize AI to help us doing research, to do work, to help us finish our tasks and assignment. So these three key components have to be there. So if one is missing, I don't think it's possible for us to create that inflection point. So here's the breakdown. For example, again with Gojek, the T here in living technologies that mobile phones, internet are accessible for consumers and drivers. For the economic standpoint, not only that the technology is affordable, but there's a reason why people want to use this service because they don't have to deal with traffic jam, they don't have to pay expensive taxi fare, and then they don't have to pay ojek pangkalan with the unpredictable fare anyway. And the C here, the cultural buy-in is to enable this, then the driver ratings and reviews are very important for the consumers. With Zoom, for example, the technology is not that massive. They utilize WebRTC in a better fashion, definitely. And the economic standpoint, by having meetings on Zoom, we can save time on commuting and remote working, right? We don't have to pay for the commuting fare. And Zoom was predominantly being triggered on the key adoption due to COVID-19 work transformation, like work from anywhere, remote work from home. So Zoom was the key hero back then. Same thing with Airbnb, the technology enabler because of the high-speed internet. Airbnb came in the age of web app, basically. Yeah, and the economic standpoint, knowing that it's expensive sometimes to find hotels, and Airbnb they utilize the unused rooms or property assets from the owners here and rent it to our people and much more affordable in a price point. And of course, in order to do that, customers they have to see the reviews and ratings from the room, from the house or property they want to rent. So imagine that this is the formula if you want to seize the opportunity of AI application, combining the T, E, and C. So I think that's about it. It's been 1 hour, but it's been fun sharing these insights with all of you guys here. The question is, are you ready to innovate with AI? Thank you very much, and looking forward to the Q&A session.
Right. Thank you, Mas Irzan, for the presentation. We learned about how does current landscape utilize AI and how we as the future can utilize AI and maximize AI. Now, while we wait for the questions to come, I was actually wondering, Mas Irzan, as stated by your recent interview with EO, you said that you have this entrepreneurial spirit since you were little. You sold caricatures, you wrote bots for an online game, and I was wondering how does that affect your mindset or how you view the current AI landscape, or maybe how you motivated you to create Kata.ai?
Right, thank you, Nabil. So I think, Goy, if we remember the famous quote coming from Steve Jobs, we cannot connect the dots in the future, but we cannot the dots backwards. And the way I look at it, since I was a kid, I'm already drawn to the kind of like entrepreneurial world without me knowing it. It was all about pouring my passion. During my elementary school years, I'm very passionate in drawing and reading comic books. And I was thinking like, what if I could make a superhero version of my friends? So I made that caricatures and they pay me for, 500 perak, still perak, and I used the money actually to, as a pocket money, to buy stuff in the canteen. And then when I went to the middle school, I also had this, I was a privilege having this high-speed broadband internet access. It was not that accessible like today. So back in middle school years, I'm very passionate about music. So I just managed to spot problems that my friends, they love to hear the latest music coming from their favorite bands and artists. Sometimes they want to create a mixtape for their friends, their beloved ones, but they can't do it. So I know it's illegal, but I made the service and sell these CDs. But what's the key point here? It's all about passion. Passion that I'm passionate in music and see how we can monetize that. In order to be able to monetize, I have to understand and having the ability to spot problems all around me. From that standpoint, I move how I can do action. That's why I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, one of the key traits is bias to action. So just start, just code, just build something. Don't think too much. Of course, by the end of the day, you have to do some research, design it, but this kind of like trait, bias to action, is very, very key. And then you mentioned correctly in high school years, I still leverage this broadband high school connection, high speed internet connection. I was very addicted to this rock and roll online gaming. But again, my mindset is always about how can I play this game for free and how can I monetize from this opportunity. I was lucky that since I was in elementary school, I tinkered around with some coding. I learned this and that, and then I came across to some bot programs. I had this access, so I built this solution for my friends. So while we're sleeping, then the characters can hunt monsters, collect zennies, and etc. So I think that's key thing, which if I have to summarize, is one is if you want to start the first thing, just start with our passion. Because the passion itself, why? Well, it sounds cliche. It becomes like the burning flame inside of us that we we don't feel tired. We will craft this product, this solution tirelessly, night and day, because that's very, very important during the early days. The second is understanding on what kind of problems we can monetize and people are willing to pay for it. So combine those two could be an opportunity for us to start our entrepreneurship journey. And the third one, of course, by understanding how we can scale the business. That's what I do today at Kata, but that's a later stage.
Okay, thank you, Mas Irzan. So, for you guys who are in the entrepreneur track, you can take notes and implement those so that hopefully your product in this capstone later can be as successful as Kata.ai, hopefully. Okay, so now can we go to the Q&A session? Okay, we have our first question here, Mas. This is from Irel Camilo. He asks, he is from mobile development path. Despite the advantages of generative AI, it also introduces challenges such as making artists difficult to maintain livelihoods. How do you navigate these negative circumstances? Yeah, I think this is a common discourse on social media that AI disrupts and takes their source of income. And what are your opinion on this, Mas Irzan?
Yeah, I think the innovation of AI is quite inevitable, right? This goes way back. I mean, back then when we illustrate, before there was the likes of Adobe Photoshops and computer, we illustrate with hands, right? And then come the day when computer, with all the software out there, with Adobe Photoshops and out there, and people utilize it, and now it makes them digital artists, right? Maybe there was some backlash in the past that, oh, you're cheating, you're utilizing tools out there using computers. But after a couple of years, people feel that's the new norm. They accept it. Okay. And I still believe that AI is a tool. And we as human beings, we have the ability to adapt better than we know it. Because the speed of innovation is inevitable and we can't simply block it. In another world in the music industry, so in early 2000s, there was this peer-to-peer streaming service called Napster. It allows people to download like pirated audio files and CDs. And musicians were very, I'd say, like frustrated about the situation. And then comes Spotify as a streaming service, YouTube Music, and it changes how people appreciate musicians and bands, right? So we don't buy CDs anymore. Maybe we buy some collectibles or special box sets with exclusive art, exclusive gifts. But that becomes the new push for artists, for musicians to find a way to upgrade themselves and find a way to monetize their creations, their art. For example, they sell merchandise, they go touring, they create some showcases, and that's how they monetize their stuff. With regards to artists, of course, this is an ongoing debate, but in my personal opinion, it's not that easy, definitely, for them to adapt because we are having these challenges to, when it comes to face new adversaries. That's just the nature of human being. But then again, I believe we as human beings, we have the ability to adapt, we upskill and reskill. Imagine that maybe your job is for the past few years, you illustrate something. But what if you upgrade yourself to transform your illustrations to become IP, an intellectual property? You can create a brand, you can create characters, and that will give value to your creation 10 times, even 20 times. That's my 2 cents. By the end of the day, like whatever we do, the need of constant skill upgrade, adapting to the new stuff out there, the changes is inevitable, especially in the age of AI.
Okay, thank you, Mas Irzan, for the answer. So I hope it answers your question, Iral, about how do we navigate this circumstance of balancing between, the livelihoods of the artist and the actual usage of generative AI. Okay, so can we continue to the next question? Is from Aska Boy. And he asks, how can companies implement a business strategy centered on humanism while still harnessing the potential offered by artificial intelligence?
Okay, Aska boys. So I think the key part is understanding the problem of the customers first. What kind of problem you are solving, right? Once you know the problems, then think deeply the solution here. The solution might require AI, might not require AI. But if it requires AI, then you have to think, as I mentioned before, as a whole package, how you can not only think from the technology standpoint, but as a whole product, crafting the right user experience, customer experience that can solve the customer's problem. So again, never fall in love with the technology, never fall in love with AI. As an entrepreneur, you have to fall in love with the customer's problem and think with the existing toolkits out there, with the technologies out there, including the AI here, how we can solve it in the right way, in the right manner.
Okay, so for Aska, don't be too centered on the technology or the products, but focus on the customer, on the problems. Okay, thank you, Aska Boy, for the question. And the next question is from Irma Fitriani from Cloud Computing. And she asks, how do companies deal with changes in regulations and policies related to the use of AI in businesses, especially concerning data privacy, consumer protection, and cybersecurity?
Right. I think when it comes to personal data protection, it's still valid in the age of AI. What I think quite key when it comes to regulatory is the misinformation piece. My personal knowledge and my personal opinion, I believe the biggest threat of AI is not job replacement or displacement, but it's all about misinformation and disinformation because now it's so easy to generate content using AI. And I'm glad that we have this discussion with all of you guys, the bright minds, the young innovators. We know what are the latest technology of AI out there, the risks and the benefits. If you guys remember during the election, there was this video of President Jokowi making a speech in Chinese, and a lot of like steered comments in social media in a negative way, in a way. But of course, we in the room here today, okay, we know they're utilizing speech-to-speech AI generation, like voice cloning in a way. But looking how information being transferred easily in WhatsApp groups, for example, our parents, our uncles, aunties, I don't think they are that aware about the threat and how AI possess this. So it's very key for government to think about the future of like regulatory, especially in regulating the harm or the risk of AI and misinformation.
Okay, maybe a little follow-up question for myself, Mas. I was curious when you started created Yes Boss and later Kata.ai. Was this discussion about data privacy and consumer protection on using their messages and something similar like that already a public discussion about it, or is it actually a thing that started around right now or maybe in the past years?
Well, I think as the industry player, as a platform provider, it's always important from day one you think about the protection, the privacy, or your consumer data, your customer data, in which we are taking a very serious approach to this matter. For example, like we are certified ISO 27001, assuring our customers that data are safe, for example. And all this information are written in our TNC on legal agreements, especially if we deal with the B2B customers. So I think from day one, it's becoming our key important discussion with our customers that even we have to educate them like we might utilize your data, of course, not the consumer personal data, but more towards the language data being generated by your users, by your agents to train back to our AI model. And we told them that this for the benefit of you and other customers, and we asked this from other customers as well. So it's something like reciprocal and mutual, and they could understand as long as we can take the privacy of their consumer data very seriously.
Okay, okay, I see. Very interesting, Mas Irzan. And thank you too to Irma for the question. And we can move on to the next question. It's from AVM. And AVM asks, what are some common misconceptions or challenges that startups face when implementing AI, and how can they overcome these obstacles? Master Zen, maybe you can tell us more about when you start first creating Yes Boss based on this question.
Yeah, I think it depends here. For example, in our case, when we started off Kata.ai in 2017, where AI is not cool like today, we had to educate the customers about this AI algorithm is a narrow AI. It's not general AI that what they see on the Hollywood movies. It's not something what Iron Man has, like Jarvis, for example. That being said, the AI can simply understand, but you have to keep on training the model to get the latest knowledge about your product service and to serve your customers better. So I think that was the early challenge that we faced when we started off Kata.ai. And now I think when it comes to the age of generative AI, there's the thing that I learned. One thing is that if you want to build the POC or MVP of LLM powered apps, it's easy. But to make a scalable one, it's not that easy. You have to think the whole infrastructure, not implementing the whole frameworks. For example, utilizing the likes of LangChain, the vector DBs, for example, including how you implement RAG, like retrieval augmented generation, to read data and maintain hallucination very, very low, for example. But more on that is that one of my advice is don't marry your models. What does it mean? In the age, in the rapid pace of generative AI today, who claims to be the most advanced today might not be relevant in the next 2 or 6 months. For example, we tried around some open source model using Mistral to fine tune with Indonesian language datasets. We spent some time, and I think it was the best back then for open source model. And last week, Llama, they announced Llama 3 with their 70 billion parameters. And the quality is very, very close to GPT-4. I can assure you guys that. So we thought, damn, we shouldn't have to spend too much time in Mistral, but look at where we're today with Metalamatri, and they can cater Indonesian language very, very seamlessly as well. So I think, yeah, that's one thing. Keep on experimenting, tinkering around, but don't marry your models.
Okay. So, is it safe to say that the recent boom on AI, starting from around 2022 from GPT-3 and evolving afterwards, accelerates the progress or the your products, especially on Kata.ai, Mas?
Yes, inevitably. I think we see that LMs can provide significant value for our customers and their consumers to deliver a better customer experience, a more human interactions, how we can synthesize like multiple intents in one sentence, how we can understand like one long form text, for example. So Wiseman said, if you can't fight them, we join them. So of course we have native integrations to ChatGPT, to Coach Gemini, and other LLMs out there. We are also experimenting with some open source out there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mas Irzan, for and I hope that answers your question. AVM. Okay. Moving on to the next question. It's from Mark first. He asks, or she asks, how will AI reshape the job landscape for startups? What skills and mindsets should future-oriented startups cultivate in their workforce to thrive alongside AI integration? I think this is a very interesting question for you to answer.
Very interesting question. Yeah, I think the the near future that we are looking at today is how we can expect our workforces, our staffs as professionals to utilize AI tools on their workflows, which is very, very important. So in that matters, it's very important for the organization, the leaders, the managers to introduce these AI tools and then make the culture to open for innovation and also new changes in technology landscape. But in the future, I believe that it might be there might be time where $1 billion startup consists only like 3 to 5 people because of the advancement of AI tools, which is beyond tools, but AI agents, like how you can have your employees in a form of agents, for example. And then this network of agents could orchestrate the discussion within each other. So I think that's the real like maybe like 5 years from now on. But for today, it's very important for us to be adaptable, to have this critical thinking, because critical thinking will allow us to be able to write in a structured manner. Why is it important? Because prompting is becoming the key skills, and writing the right briefs for our new staffs, new interns, the AI interns, is very, very important. And it all starts by being by having this critical thinking mindset.
Okay, so Mark first, I hope you noted and I hope you did your critical thinking assignment well. Okay, moving on to the next question. We have Doan Carlos Embara, and he asks, how can businesses maximize AI's benefits while addressing privacy, bias, and transparency challenges? I think this is a very a similar question from the previous question, and Mas Irjan, you can answer this.
Yeah, I think this is a good question. When it comes to privacy, no question asked, that's the key sole responsibility coming from the startups as an AI provider here. With regards to bias and transparency, I think when it comes to bias, a lot of like testing has to be in a robust manner. You have to go thoroughly all the testing procedures, like making sure that as little as hallucinations as bias as possible. But more importantly, you mentioned correctly transparency. That it's very important for any startups. If, for example, they publish any content, be it images, text, summarize some content utilizing AI, they have to disclose that it's AI generated. And this transparency culture is something that we have to foster in the startup industry, since we are the ones in the forefront when it comes to technology adoption and advancement. And transparency is one of the way we educate the market, how we yeah, educate them about the right way in using AI.
Okay. Maybe a little follow-up question again for myself. When you started Kata.ai, and businesses started using Kata.ai, like chatbot, sorry, and other products, do they at first wonder how does this work? Why does it generate this response and that response? Or yeah, what are the first reactions to Kata.ai?
The first reaction was like, wow, it's magic. So, yeah, when we deployed our very first chatbot, which was for Unilever, the chatbot called Gemma, a virtual female best friend, because it was like a big part challenges. We're not only making chatbot for customer service, which is might be quite robotic or very systematic following the flow, but having a virtual friend, you have to be able to discuss many topics freely, right? And then I remember back in 2017, I posted some screenshots of that conversation on LinkedIn, and it went viral with 2,000 likes and reposts. And I get a lot of like messages coming from businesses, the big banks, telcos. They are asking how can they explore this technology for us to present in their other office. So I think that's very delightful to be able to showcase magic to these businesses back in 2017.
Ah, oh man, I wish I was there to experience it, but well, we experience the rise of LLMs now and maybe in the future.
Totally.
Okay, yes. Thank you once again for the question. I apologize, I forgot the name, but we can move on to the next question. It's from Tasha Nadila. She asks, in what ways can AI act as a catalyst for sustainability in business practice? And how are leading companies measuring the impact of AI on their sustainability goals?
Okay, this is a good question. I think it's very important how we see AI here, not only as a technology or innovation, but when it comes to sustainability. Sustainability is one of the things when it comes to the current tech landscape. You guys know about tech winter and how they utilize AI here to help them to become more sustainable as a business. How AI here to help them to improve their bottom line, for example, so the company can become more profitable. But on other topics such as sustainability, on how they can see that the I'll say the impact in the community, in the humanity by utilizing AI here, and it becomes the responsibility of the AI provider. For example, there are some jobs being affected by this innovation, by this product, and how they can find ways to create the opportunity, or for example, collaborate with other parties, with government, with some other firms in order to find ways in order to elevate these people who got affected by the product or, for example, innovation.
Okay. Now, Mas, a little follow-up from this question. Does Kata.ai also use AI in office? I mean, in team, like maybe to open tickets for problem, or maybe to solve problems and something like that?
Well, since we are very B2B centric and selling to enterprise, so that being said, that like white glove service, we call it, or in this case, like very human centric approach is still needed. So we utilize AI here. Yes, we have a small chatbots for capturing inquiries, but in the day-to-day, since again we're B2B, so enterprise, it's very human-centric relationship.
Okay, okay, I see, I see. Okay, thank you for the question once again, and we can move on to the next question. It's from David Ryan Christensen. He asks, is there any chance that generative AI applied in robot so they can act like normal human? And what is the current research about that?
I would say it's already there. You can find more information on how Tesla is building, I think, Optimus, their AI-powered robots. And then there's another company called Figure. They also build AI-powered robots utilizing OpenAI's ChatGPT. So I think, yeah, it's already out there. Feel free to look for them.
Okay, David, you can search it on the new tab after this about the robots mentioned by my citizen. Okay, moving on to the next question, we have Marshall P. And he asks, how are traditional businesses benefiting from the dynamic synergy between AI and contemporary business paradigms, leading to subtle advancements across sectors?
Okay, so right now, AI part of digital transformation, it becomes the hot topics across industries. And we see it firsthand how Kata is trying to help this company adopting AI technology, starting from AI-powered chatbots for their customer service, or for example, for marketing. So I think by the end of the day, we have to think about how this solution could be 1,000 times better, 100 times better than what they do before. For example, let me give you an example. As I mentioned earlier, Pegadaian, one of our key customers, they utilize WhatsApp AI chatbots to drive financial inclusion, helping people to make investment, like gold investment using WhatsApp. Who would have thought like WhatsApp could be the right catalyst to drive AI adoption that even drive new avenue of growth or transactions for businesses out there? We might be thinking like, oh, it's always about the mobile apps or web apps, but Pegadaian took a quite holistic approach by understanding better about who their customers are. Their customers mostly the Gen X, baby boomers, or even like someone in between. And for them to adapt to new apps is quite tricky. So hence, through the research, they find these people find a suitable experience by utilizing WhatsApp. Since again, WhatsApp is super app of Indonesia. We opened up WhatsApp after after waking up and then before bed, right? Checking the groups, etc. And then another story, one of our key clients, a consumer goods brand. So if you guys go to the supermarket and then typically in the alley of a certain product, let's say a milk product, typically you will find a self promotion girl. The SPG will offer like a free sample. Sometimes you can just get the free sample and that's it. But sometimes once you get the free sample, you'll be asked your name, your phone number, or they will upsell you to buy their products. And once you buy the product, we'll ask those information. So what happened before? Consumer goods company, they employed customer service call center agent to conduct a survey to these consumers whom I think they met in a way in the supermarkets to understand more better about why they bought the product, whom are this product for, is this for their kids, how old are they, what do they do, blah blah blah, around like 7 questions. But the problem is people are being occupied doing something. You're in the middle of work, you are taking care of a child, you are driving, you are cooking, and the success rate is only 20%. So people, they hang up the phone after 2 questions and that's it. They come up to us with a problem statement, and what we did is we just push message on WhatsApp, and then the AI chatbot will take over the conversation. And then the engagement rate, it went up 3.5 times from 20% to 77%. At the same time, they capture more data for the customers. They can do remarketing. They can drive more sales. So I think this is one of the key example on how we see things holistically. AI becoming the key driver, but not the sole enabling technologies. We have to think, how are we delivering the AI? Is it via chat? Is it via voice? In which applications? Are our customers that accustomed in using our apps every day? Or maybe things like WhatsApp would be a better medium to deliver the value. So I think a holistic approach is a better way for businesses to have a better paradigm in doing the transformation by utilizing AI.
Okay, thank you, Mas. And so it can be summarized that a business was proposing a problem, and Kata.ai solves that by proposing to them that you could use WhatsApp to solve that slow respond from the call center.
Yeah, for example.
Okay, thank you, Marshall, for the question. And we can move on to the next question. It's from Johansen Sihombing. He asks, which industries are primed for leveraging AI in startup ventures, especially amidst Indonesia's capital relocation? What key preparations are vital for success in these endeavors?
I personally believe in three key sectors on how Indonesia could leverage AI. So one is healthcare, considering how data in healthcare industries are fragmented between one provider to another provider, and how this healthcare could provide a better service and also experience to patients. And then in educations, digitizing the data that are already very localized in schools, universities, and then of course related to financial services. I think the opportunity is a lot. I think you guys can think out of the box, and the sky is the limit. I think the key preparations is again knowing what problems you are willing to solve. That's very very key. And then think of how are you able to collect these data sets and how you can train the model and which model. But again, think of how the value you are delivering, that the application you are building with the power of these data sets and AI could create a 100 times better experience. So I think that's my 2 cents.
Okay, Mas, that now that you mentioned the medical industry used Kata.ai, I was wondering, is there any business or industry that uses Kata.ai when they ask Kata.ai to help them? You were thinking like, wow, I never thought of this business or industry used us as a partner or as a user.
That's an interesting question, a good question. I think the story of Pegadaian definitely one thing that imagine like an AI chatbot is being used for investment, like gold investment. I never thought that before. And the consumer goods story as well. I think those are the two things that popping out instantly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Marshall, for the question. And we can move on to the next question. It's from Nathanael Erlando Putra. He asks, how might the increasing capabilities of AI lead to unforeseen challenges or unintended consequences for businesses?
I think the moving at rapid pace. Hello, just checking.
Hello.
Anyway, okay.
Okay.
All right. So I think the development of AI is moving at a rapid pace that we've never thought before. And the important part of businesses is to understand that this AI development could either disrupt their business or how they think AI here can drive more key differentiator for the business, creating new potential that differentiate them from the competitions, for example, and how it affect their organization. Not only enabling their employees to do more and be more utilizing AI-powered tools and solutions, but the implications toward it. be it for internally or for external, like the customers and our stakeholders. So I think that's the high level idea.
Okay. Thank you, Nathanael Erlando Putra, for the question, and we can continue to the next question. It's from Audi Ilham, and he asks, how important is ethics and transparency in the development and application of AI, especially for startups, because we know that now all industries are starting to applying it.
Yeah, I think we've answered this question before. So the answer is very important. And I think it requires a lot of collaboration across stakeholders, how we can maintain the ethics and transparency from communities and then academias, and of course from the platform providers as well, the industry itself.
Okay. Okay, Audi Ilham, I hope it answers your question. And we can move on to the next question. It's from Albert Nathaniel. He asks, how do you envision the future of work, in a landscape where AI is integrated into various business processes? And what opportunities do you see for job creation and upskilling?
Right. I believe there are always ways for we as human beings to do more and be more. And we always find a way to make jobs, to adapt. We've seen from the uh, Industrial Revolution, for example, or even it when we go way back, moving from being from hunter and gatherer to become farmer. And I think the latest research coming from one of the consulting firm, it said that the age of AI will create new millions of jobs. Things that we might have we might not think today, but there will be a lot of opportunities. Simple opportunity we see today, like from engineer, for example, right? And then including like AI engineers in this case, on how you can orchestrate all different applications and create new value for businesses. And then I think the future companies can integrate AI to drive KPIs, how they can utilize AI to push their performance, definitely. And then reimagining their UIs, the user interface of applications, webs by utilizing AI. Of course, chat is the first step, but there are other things, voice recommendation engine and the whole experience. But beyond that, I think company will become a neural network, like multiple AI agents. So companies will operate like neural networks with feedback loops forming a system between interconnected processes. So I think that's the future. And when it comes to upskilling and job creation, I believe we will get there.
Okay. Thank you, Albert Nathaniel, for the question. And we have Alwin Rusli as our next question. Sorry. He asks, what skills or qualities are essential for achieving success in the AI industry? And could you provide recommendation sources for learning generative AI techniques and concepts?
Yeah, I'm not a developer myself anymore, but I just follow the latest advancement of AI. What's important is having the growth mindset and also critical thinking, having the passion to drive, to learn, to be more, to keep on track with the latest technology advancement, innovation. We have to be able to act quickly, to utilizing this all information and AI innovation. So my favorite learning source when it comes to generative AI is deeplearning.ai. It's a subsidiary of Coursera, built by Andrew Ng, one of the most renowned AI scientists in the world. So he has lots of topics covering generative AI, be it for developers or even from the business perspective. And then I believe Google also has course about generative AI, which is free to access. And even the top universities like Stanford, I guess, and others, they also provide these AI free courses. So I think the internet is accessible, the knowledge is out there. It's time for you to grab them.
Yes, Alvin Rusli, thank you for the question. And please note Mas Irzan's recommendations to learn from the websites he mentioned, and also to implement critical thinking and growth mindset. And I also hope you do the task well on that ILT. Okay, now continuing from Alvin Rusli's question, in the early stages of Kata.ai, what are the challenges and restrictions maybe you were facing, Kata.ai were facing in that time? Maybe as we know at that time the AI landscape was not really as massive as right now in the business world, and people doesn't know yet the potential of AI. What are the challenges you faced, Mas Irzan, when at the early stage of Kata.ai?
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier that educating the market, the customers about AI, what it can do, what it cannot do. That's one thing. The second thing is educating the market as a whole because it's a new thing. Being a pioneer, a first mover or a pioneer, it could be a gift or a curse because you're the first one that moved the needle. But in order to do that, you might need some time to educate the customers, the market, the benefits of AI itself. And I think what I'll also find some challenges is that in talents, because back then finding talents that focus on machine learning, data science is not as many as today. And then the biggest challenge, obviously, that we have to build everything from scratch by building the algorithm on our own.
Okay. Uh, so were you, well, as you mentioned at the start, you don't code right now, but you're a salesman now. But at the early stage of Kata.ai, were you still actively coding in the engineering team, or you were already, yeah, let's say, a salesman at the early stage of Kata.ai?
So I coded a bit during Yes Boss, not Kata.ai, because the engineers we get back then, they're just so marvelous. They're so good that I'm nothing compared to them. And also, I'm glad that I had my CTO back then who led the all development efforts in our team. So I mainly focus in doing the go-to-market and then doing the business development side and how to monetize the technology.
Okay, Mas. Thank you. Interesting. That maybe it's a common thing in businesses that actually the let's say the higher ups, the boss focuses more on the other business, or focus on their go to market, as you said, not on the developing part of it. And I think it's interesting fact that you guys on the entrepreneur track can take notes and learn. And one last question from me, Mas Irzan, and one last question for this Q&A session. Uh, how does a non-machine learning cohort of Bangkit, so cloud computing and mobile development, can dive deep, take a deep dive on this AI for businesses? Let's say cloud computing cohort or mobile development has an AI powered business idea, and can you provide a roadmap for the initial steps on how should they take their ideas to life, and maybe maintaining their ideas into a startup and hopefully grow into a bigger company?
Yeah. So again, I keep mentioning this, that what kind of problems you are trying to solve. who are the customers, who are the users, what kind of problem they are trying to solve, what kind of problem they are serving, and how we can create a solution on that. Let's start with an MVP first. It's very important to do customer research in this case. Talk to as many as potential customers who you think that have this exact problem. At the bare minimum, you talk to 20 of them, and then don't code right away, but solve with pen and paper, or for example, just like a framework, like a mockup, and see if they like it, right? And then you might start with the MVP, but bear in mind, if you have any idea how you can monetize your product, it'd be great from day one. But if not, it might be something that you have to think thoroughly later on. Although I prefer to think on the business model from day one as well. Because if you want to find investors, venture capitalists, they will ask you like, what's your path to profitability these days? Just building a product is not enough. From that moment, I think once you build the MVP, your first job just to find a product market fit. There are a lot of good resources related to product market fit. I think, for example, how you can find the rule of 40. In this case, that once you roll out your product to 20 people at least, 40% of them, like 8 of them, they will be very disappointed if your product is not available anymore. Okay. And then I think that's one of the key. And then you also measure the cohort retention rate. If you build a consumer apps, meaning that they will be coming back to your application over and over again every day if they find it useful. And focus on retention on the early days before you think about scaling up. It's better to focus on the retention first, then you scale up prematurely. So I think that's my key takeaway, my key message. But for the AI itself, yeah, I think you just have to be creative and find ways the existing AI models out there could create your product with 100 times better experience to solve the customer's problem.
Okay, so guys, that's a really, really useful knowledge for all of you who are interested in creating a startup or creating a new product from Indonesia's one of the Indonesia's best entrepreneur and CEO of one of the best companies. Okay, so we are approaching the end of the session, and before ending the session, Mas Irzan, do you have any closing remarks or statements for you to tell our audiences?
Yeah, thank you so much, folks, for joining the session. Those are great questions. So big applause to you guys. My message is only one. This is the right time for you to innovate, to build, and to thrive in the age of AI. So good luck and have fun.
Have fun indeed. I hope so. We are going to have fun in the future. Thank you, Mas Irzan, for your amazing stories and for the exquisite insights. We all hope we can take away the knowledges you shared us in this session. And you said best questions, and we are going to tell you sorry, the best 6 questions from today's guest speaker session. And congratulations to Irel, Zahrina, Irma, Aurelia, Alvin, and Tasha for your amazing questions. And congratulations too, because you guys will get extra Bangkit points. And that concludes our session for this afternoon. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Mas Irzan, for your time, and thank you too to Bangkit cohorts for attending this. We apologize for any inconveniences and for any mistakes that we have done during this session. And I'm Nabil Mafaza as the moderator, Thank you for the session, and see you at next week's guest speaker session. Bye bye.
Thank you Nabil, thank you Bangkit.